Welcome to America's Biggest Crimes, the channel where we dig deep into the darkest corners of history. Today, we're tackling a question that'll send chills down your spine. Did a real-life Squid Game ever happen? Netflix's Squid Game gripped us with its deadly children's games, desperate players risking it all for a cash prize, and billionaire VIPs betting on their suffering. But could such a twisted reality exist? We're diving into 4 shocking crimes, 3 in America, 1 in Europe, that echo Squid Game's themes of desperation, betrayal, and systemic abuse. From government experiments to cult massacres, these stories reveal how the powerful exploit the vulnerable, with devastating consequences. This is a deep dive, so grab a snack, hit that subscribe button, and let's uncover the truth behind the real Squid Game. Before we start, just use 5 seconds of your time and hit the like button if you're ready for some dark history, and let us know in the comments, what's the creepiest real-life crime you've heard of? We might cover it next. Thanks for subscribing. Now, let's begin. We start with the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. Let's start in 1932, Macon County, Alabama, with one of America's most infamous crimes, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. Picture this: 600 African-American men, mostly poor sharecroppers, are offered free healthcare by the U.S. Public Health Service. Sounds like a lifeline, right? Just like the 45.6 billion won dangled in front of Squid Game's players. But this was no act of kindness. These men were secretly part of a study to watch syphilis destroy their bodies. Many were infected without consent. Others already had it, but were never told. They got fake treatments, placebos, while doctors took notes. By the 1940s, penicillin could have cured them, but the government withheld it. For 40 years, until 1972, these men suffered blindness, insanity, and death. At least 28 died directly from syphilis, and families were shattered as the disease spread. Why? To satisfy scientific curiosity and maintain control, all funded by taxpayer dollars. Like Squid Game's players, these men were pawns in a rigged game, manipulated by powerful figures who saw them as disposable. The front man in Squid Game hides behind a mask. In Tuskegee, it was government officials hiding behind research. Let's break it down. The men were desperate, lured by false promises, and betrayed by a system that valued data over lives. This wasn't just a crime, it was systemic racism in action. The men were targeted because they were black and poor, seen as less human by those in power. Compare that to Squid Game's class critique, where the poor are forced to fight for scraps while the rich watch. The Tuskegee survivors got a formal apology from President Clinton in 1997, but the scars remain. What do you think? Could this happen again today? Pause the video and drop your thoughts in the comments. And secondly is the Move bombing. Next, we're in 1985 Philadelphia for a crime that feels like Squid Game's glass bridge game. Impossible odds and devastating consequences. The Move bombing. Move was a black liberation group living communally in a row house, advocating for freedom and clashing with authorities over minor issues like code violations. The city's response: overwhelming force. On May 13, 1985, 500 police officers surrounded their home, and get this, a helicopter dropped a bomb on it. A bomb. In a residential neighborhood. The explosion sparked a fire that killed 11 people, including 5 children, and destroyed 65 homes in a predominantly black neighborhood. The city let the fire burn, prioritizing control over lives. Survivors were left homeless, their community in ruins. This wasn't a mistake, it was a deliberate act by powerful city officials, targeting a marginalized group. Like Squid Game's players, Move members were trapped in a system where the rules were stacked against them. The VIPs in the show bet on suffering. In Philadelphia, city leaders gambled with lives to silence dissent. The 1986 Move Commission called it reckless, but no one faced serious consequences. This crime exposes racial and political tensions in America. Move was seen as a threat, not because of major crimes, but because they challenged the status quo. Squid Game shows how the powerful eliminate the weak to maintain order. Sound familiar? The bombing left a wound in Philadelphia that's still felt today. Let's do a quick poll. Do you think the Move bombing was about control or something else? Comment control or other below. And number 3 is the Thalidomide Scandal in Europe. Now, let's cross the Atlantic to Europe for a crime that screams Squid Game's exploitation. The Thalidomide Scandal, starting in 1957, primarily in Germany and the UK. Pregnant women, desperate for relief from morning sickness, were sold thalidomide, a miracle drug marketed as safe by Chemie Grunenthal and its distributors. It was their 45.6 billion won, a promise of hope, but it was a lie. The drug caused horrific birth defects, over 10,000 babies born with missing limbs, deformed organs, or other disabilities. Thousands died in miscarriages. The company knew about risks as early as 1959, but hid them, prioritizing profits. Governments were slow to act, and by 1961, when the drug was finally pulled, the damage was done. Over 2,000 deaths in Europe alone, and countless lives altered forever. The victims, everyday families, betrayed by corporate greed. Just like Squid Game's VIPs, the executives and regulators gambled with lives for profit. The women and their families were players in a deadly game they didn't sign up for, manipulated by those at the top. Survivors fought for justice, but many executives faced no real punishment. Thalidomide shows how corporations can exploit trust, turning desperation into disaster. Squid Game's players sign up for a chance at survival. These families were given no choice. The scandal led to stricter drug regulations, but the human cost was staggering. Let's reflect. Could corporate greed still blind us today? Pause and share your thoughts in the comments. Before we head straight to the last one, please don't forget the 5 seconds trick, and let's count together as we use just 5 seconds to click the subscribe button so we can help this channel grow. Thanks for subscribing. Now let's unravel the last one together. It is the Jonestown Massacre. Back in the US, we end with one of the most horrifying American crimes, the Jonestown Massacre of 1978. Jim Jones, leader of the People's Temple, a California-based cult, promised his followers a utopia, freedom, equality, a new life. Sounds like Squid Game's cash prize, right? Over 900 people, mostly Americans, followed him to a remote compound in Guyana. Many were poor, marginalized, or searching for meaning. But Jones's paradise was a prison. Members faced forced labor, surveillance, and psychological control. On November 18, 1978, after US Congressman Leo Ryan visited to investigate abuse, Jones ordered his murder. Then, he coerced his followers into a mass murder-suicide, forcing them to drink cyanide-laced punch. 918 people died, including 304 children. Over 700 were American citizens, making this a US tragedy with global impact. Like Squid Game's players, Jonestown's victims were lured by a false promise and trapped by a powerful figure who controlled their fate. Jones was the frontman, and his followers were pawns in his deadly game. The scale of betrayal is chilling. 918 lives lost to one man's ego. Jonestown shows how charisma and desperation can create a deadly trap. Squid Game warns us about systems that exploit the vulnerable, and Jones did just that, preying on hope. Survivors and families still grapple with the trauma. Let's do another poll. Was Jonestown more about cult control or societal failure? Comment cult or society below. The Tuskegee Experiment, Move bombing, Thalidomide Scandal, and Jonestown Massacre aren't Squid Game's deadly playgrounds, but they reveal a darker truth. When the powerful exploit the desperate, lives become pawns in a rigged game. From government experiments to corporate greed to cult manipulation, these crimes, 3 in America, 1 in Europe, echo Squid Game's warning about inequality and betrayal. Could a real Squid Game happen today? With systemic issues still alive, it's not impossible. What do you think? Have you heard of other crimes that feel like Squid Game? Drop them in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into America's biggest crimes.